And you are listening to the Blackprint. We are starting off. This is season 1, episode 2. I want to thank all of you that tuned into episode 1. I believe it was a huge success. As we continue to get better, so will the presentation of the content and information. Right now, we are filling out the best ways to present you guys with information, what platforms will work best. Right now, you guys that are tuning in on YouTube Live or Facebook Live or Periscope, you guys will be able to chat with me real time by posting comments. The comments will post directly to me. I will be able to respond to them. So I look forward to that. Also, at the same time as we're doing live video, we're also transmitting audio via podcast platforms like Anchor and Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all of those things. So those of you listening through podcasts won't be able to interact real time, but we are still going to try and make things happen the best we can on multiple platforms. So as you guys know, the premise of the podcast is to present information, everything relevant to Black culture every week from the blackest of perspectives. And time to time, I will have special guests coming on with me to chop it up with me, to give their perspective as well. There'll be opportunities for healthy debate, opportunities to get multiple perspectives on the same topics, because that's always a positive when you can hear two people come from two different sides of the tracks, or two people come from different sides of a coin, and they're respectfully passing information to each other. That's how learning happens. So I'm going to do my best to try and get as many special guests on here as possible. We are possibly having a special guest on here later in the show. Guy I went to college with. He has his own podcast. He'll be trying to tune in and join in later in the stream as we go along. So, I got to keep an eye on that. So if you see me moving around and doing things like that, that's what's going on. Trying to master the art of going live, video, and also podcasting at the same time without a full production team. A lot of times you see these guys that are doing it, they have real production teams. This is just the beginning. We're getting close to those points where we're able to do those type of things. But as of right now, that is just not where it's going to be at right as of yet. But a few things happened over the weekend, over the past week, that we want to touch on. I could start to touch on. I guess the first thing that's probably the most prevalent on people's mind is the Super Bowl was yesterday. Super Bowl went down, Super Bowl 55, I believe it was. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl in 10 appearances. He is 7-3. And he was the MVP of the Super Bowl for the 5th time. So having a 7th Super Bowl championship and having a 5th Super Bowl MVP are both all-time records. No one has done that more than him. But there are those who would say that the game yesterday, even though Brady played very well, it was a team victory, and the defense is just as much of a reason for the reason why they won than Tom Brady was. And the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, his team appeared to be, from what I understand, like I told you guys last week, I haven't been watching much football. I haven't been following along ever since the Kaepernick situation. But just listening to what the announcers were saying, sounds like 2 or 3 of their key guys were out of the game. And most importantly were offensive linemen. There were 2 offensive linemen that were missed, and you could see the effects of that throughout the entire game of how much Patrick Mahomes, basically every time he dropped back, he was 100 miles and running. He's being chased down, and football is the ultimate team sport. Whereas if you do not have 11 men all doing their job, then no one is going to be able to shine. So Patrick Mahomes played very hard yesterday from what I saw. And he made some amazing throws that were dropped or hit people in the face mask, things like that. Probably because, he was out of sorts because of the positions in which he had to throw the ball from. Was one in which he was always in retreat mode because he was being attacked by Tampa Bay's defense the entire game. So we saw the residual effects of that. But I guess the question that's on everybody's mind is, does this solidify Tom Brady as the GOAT? If you guys are listening and you want to comment on that. Okay, my man. It seems like my man One Take is trying to jump in. Oh, here we go.
Yo, what's good, brother? My camera's acting funny though, man. So we're gonna have to just do it with my voice for a minute.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. Hey, man. Another day above ground is a good day for me, bro. So thanks for having me, man. What's up, kiddo? How you been?
I've been good, man. Like I know we haven't had an opportunity to really kick it like that.
It's been a minute, bro.
Since college, but just say publicly on there, I'm very proud of you and all of the positive things that you have going on. And it's funny, I think when college years come around, people are pretty much figuring out who they are, but it still makes sense, if that makes sense to you. The things that you're doing make sense based on who Ron Lover was in college. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm not surprised at any of your success or any of the positive things that you're doing, because you were already that, just basically in the making back at Dell State. So,
man, so firstly, I appreciate you, man. And likewise, brother, you always had the passion for the coaching, so I see that took off, man. So that's what's up, man. And for me, you know me, bro. I always tell people, it ain't hard to be who I am today, because I've been the same person the whole time, man. It's just the opportunities and the impact you can have with people, just being around the right people, man, and having people who are dope, who you trust, with your life, with your career, with your passion more than anything else, right? So when you start talking about doing a podcast, or you start talking about some of our people is doing big things on TV and producing and all that good stuff. Every single one of us was doing exactly what we always been doing. Ain't nothing changed, bro. It's just we're a little older now doing it, man. So it's refreshing. I feel like and if you know, me and this brother used to have straight debates, man. What I mean? And if you know anything about me, I only debate those who I feel like are worthy of a good debate. Otherwise, I'm not going to bother with you. No
doubt.
So shout to you, brother, and absolutely, man, glad to be here.
No doubt, man. So I know that you're in education.
Yeah.
How is that? So if I'm not mistaken, you are a principal in Queens or
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, okay. So I know now with COVID, the way things are going on, the whole educational system has been shaken up. How has COVID affected,
So it's interesting, man. So firstly, we actually had to shut down my school for about 10 days. We just opened up today for the first time. And we was one of the few who had to go through that. So, that was a challenge, man, because you lose people's, I'm going to use the word trust, not necessarily it's anybody's, not one single person's fault, but, people are a little skittish about sending their babies into the building around this whole thing, man. So when you got to shut down, my attendance was down about 50% today. And I completely understand why. Because, it's a situation where people are like, well, listen, it's either, put my son or my daughter at risk, or just keep them home, where at the very least I know I can keep them. More policy Or let me take a step backwards. How is it affecting schools? What it should be doing is giving people the opportunity to do the shit right. Because let me be clear, people wasn't doing it correctly in the first place, bro. There was way too many kids who was getting left behind. You know, I mean, we could talk for hours about all the systematic injustices that take place as a result of just the system itself. You know, the system is producing exactly what a system is designed to produce, which is a whole bunch of workers and a whole bunch of people who they could, you know, put into a slot somewhere. So one of the things that I pushed for in my building alone was like, listen, this is a year that we got an opportunity to get this done right and do right by children. So we need to take all opportunities to do so. But, you know, old habits die hard for people, man. There's some people who really don't want to, you know, cross that bridge, bro, because that means harder work for them. So you think about it. It's like, do I have to, you know, reassess who I am as an educator and come back around and become a better me? Or can I just wait for the union to hold me down just in case I get in a little bit of trouble and then not have to really improve because the union got my back? So there's a lot of that going on right now. I, for one, am going harder. As tired as I am, you know, as exhausted as I am, you know, I'm going harder because I already know what happens when these kids don't get what they're supposed to get, bro.
Right, no doubt. So, like when I think of, you know, our day, and shout out to Delaware State University. I mean, all HBCUs right now really need to be shouted out. But you know, Del State was a special place while you and I was there. There was a lot of brilliant people moving around, a lot of great things going on. But when I think about you, I would say, like, to me, you always represented, like, you were so New York. You know what I mean? Like your mentality was New York. It's not to say you wasn't necessarily a bully, but just like mad aggressive with the way you present yourself, the way you present your information. Whatever music you were listening to was the hot shit. Whatever everybody else, you know, whatever was not a black. You know what I mean? So, but again, I was the type to appreciate that kind of energy because that's what I was used to as well. And I think a lot of the friends that you hung out with, I ended up hanging out with because, you know, like the rest of the school was from like DC and Philly, and you know what I mean? So it's kind of like the Northeast was like all entangled into one. But I know you said you have sons that attend Del State now, or they did attend Del State recently. Do you see the landscape of HBCUs changing drastically? And if you do, is it for good or for bad?
So my sons were supposed to go to Del State. Now one of them got accepted to Morgan, and the other one is still trying to debate what they want to do with life, man. But I spent a little bit of time, you know, bringing them up there multiple times. You know, my sister still lives in Delaware, so I would, you know, make my way up there often with the boys. And, you know, to go backwards, you know, a little bit about, you know, my personality type. And it's interesting you should say that. So hold that for a second, because a lot of that comes across in, you know, in the way I govern my building and the way I distribute leadership, right? Like the thing is, it's a simple prospect for me. Like you here and you getting paid to do a job, right? And the reason why I'm so outspoken and the reason why I've always been the same way that I've always been, Reg, is because at the end of the day, I know what happens if you keep your mouth shut. The world got something for you too, right? So my role is a simple one, like is to be the chief advocate, like the chief, like, you know, the chief, you know, you know, cheerleader, for lack of a better term, or shouter outer from the hill, whatever. So make sure kids can get it, man. And if you can't give it to them, then I got to get with you and try to figure out what's going on. Now, as far as HBCUs are concerned, in my brief time taking the boys up to college tours, I mean, yo, shout to Del State, and again, shout to all the HBCUs, but really, man, like what they done to that small campus, it's the same size as always been. But you remember there was acres of land that just wasn't touched before. Not no more, bro. Like anywhere where people used to kind of play football, like kind of a walk through to get across to the store, they literally put every single square inch something in it, which is great for the kids, man, because they have so many more options, you know, to contend with, you know, from food to education to support. Like the brand new student building is amazing. It looks like a Fortune 500 building, man. It's really, really nice, man. And I would like to think, obviously our money helped with that. So shout to us, shout to our folks, and shout to the Stafford loans and the Pell Grants and all that other stuff that got us through.
Right.
But the other part about the conversation is it allows for people to be still and forever proud of where it is that they attend, no matter what HBCU you go to. Like, I get into arguments with folks all the time. Once I know you from an HBCU and I'm from an HBCU, you know what happens next. We just start going at each other. Now, mind you, it's all with love, because you're not going to ever over proud me about where I went. I don't care where you went, but
right.
But it's a good feeling, man. And for my children, they both did their first semester this last year that just passed, and they got their asses handed to them, like a lot of people do. Mm-hmm. When you go to college your first semester, and they were kind of discouraged. They wanted to take some time off. I was gonna force them back into it, but I also remember how many folks was there on campus with us, Reg, that what happened to such and such? Where Shorty go? Where this person go? Where that person go? And if you're not ready, you ain't ready. Right. And so there's no need to fake what you ain't got. So I'm gonna let my sons live for a little bit, and then at some point in time I'll apply some more pressure, man, so they can get back in there. But HBCUs are always gonna be forever for me, man.
So that leads into my next question, which is, I know you see right now a lot of people are trying to have elite level athletes attend HBCUs, trying to hope that would change the power structure of college basketball. Is it possible, like, say for a Zion or LaMelo Ball, to attend a HBCU and then that changed the landscape of college basketball?
I mean, it's where the money reside, bro. So your facilities wouldn't be what Duke's were, obviously, but give me 2 Zions and my facilities is going to be a whole hell of a lot better than anybody else who's not a major college. And let's say, give me 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Give me 10 years, where you know how it is, man. It's a copycat league. So I'm from Queens, bro, and when I was in high school coming up, man, my high school, first it was Catholic high schools all day long, right? And you wanted to go pro coming out the city. You was going to Catholic high school, right? I happened to go to Christ the King, so I'm friends with a good amount of those people. Right. Now, with that being said, now nobody go to Christ the King no more. You got to go to prep school now, right? Right. Like, what I'm saying? Like, there was a time when the PSAL was pushing out players. Now nobody go to PSAL. Like, if you nice, you outside, you going somewhere else. Right. So if people decide that they're going to spend 1 or 2 years, you're going to dominate your competition regardless, right? Not Zion, not any other one of those people who is one and done and soon to be none and done, again, if I'm not mistaken, right? Had to actually go to school. Right. You only putting more money into these people's pockets, when, truth be told, you don't get nothing from it. Like, so if a Zion was to go to Dell State, first of all, the MEAC would be that's a championship off rip. But it's not like you needed to go anyway, so you shouldn't worry about your level of competition, right? So, and that's kind of my whole point. Like, Zion was going to dominate regardless. If LeBron went to college, he would have dominated regardless. Doesn't really make a difference where he would have went, from Wake Forest up to and through, Winston-Salem. I mean, it doesn't really make a difference. So, but it would be nice for those people who were middle of the road players who may end up being like anywhere between the 7th to like the 15th man, start looking at their options a little bit more, because even those dudes would make the MEAC and the SWAC and and the CIAA would make those conferences so much more competitive. Right. Because again, like I was me and Tone was actually watching high school basketball just what's today? Today's Monday. Just on Friday and Saturday, we was watching the number 1 team versus the number 7 team, and I was going off like, man, these dudes ain't even all that good. But he said, bro, these dudes don't seem like they're that good to you right now, because everybody on the court is a D1 player. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take a while for the cream to rise to the crop. But the dude who's on the furthest end of the bench is the best player damn near in his town, damn near in his city. Right. They just ain't getting no run because this dude's in front of them. So when you put it like that, yeah, we could all eat if we just start getting, like I said, the player. We may not get the Zions, but maybe I could get like the dude who's the first dude off the rotation. I would like to see that happen.
Right. So what I try to explain to people, because a lot of people don't understand the business side of college basketball. And, they're saying, well, Howard doesn't have enough money for a Zion to even, to even house a Zion for a year. And I try to explain to them, the money will come because the money is going to follow the talent. So if Zion shows up at Dell State, then guess what? Coach K is calling Dell State because they want a game. UConn is going to try to play. So now Dell State is going to play games on ESPN and CBS where the school gets money whether they win or lose. And now they're bringing in all that money. So just like, your first statement, if you get one or two Zions, it could really change the scope of everything. And now me as a basketball coach, what I've been doing since I started coaching is I've been explaining to people like, look, if you're not about to be the main guy at a Kentucky or, you know what I mean? Listen, you might as well go to HBCU and be the man at one of those kind of schools, because I promise you the love from the classmates and the college experience is going to be better at an HBCU than being the 10th man on a Kentucky team.
Right, exactly. Like you sitting there riding the bench for Clemson, never to be seen again. And you can tell all your folks you was riding the bench, or you could sit there and be the man. So I think, unfortunately, though, and this is one of those things about people in general. And, again, always going back to the money and where the money resides. Is like, there's people who would say, why the hell would I be the man over here in Dover when I could be maybe I could be possibly third rotation player over at URI. But dude, URI, the only reason why URI exists is because Lamar went there for a second.
Right.
And just for that alone, that URI is on the map. I was just one player, and I was 20 plus years ago. So as you can see, it's a mindset shift. And again, all it takes is just a couple of people. Again, like it always starts small. The more competitive you are, think about like a Valpo. I think about how Gonzaga went from kind of all right to like consistently all right, because it's just your name. And it's just like, I remember when Georgetown couldn't be beat for nothing. Now Georgetown is cake. Like, we're not cake, but you know what I'm saying? Like St. John's used to be a place where if you was coming up in New York City, like you wasn't going nowhere. You gonna be right in Queens, bro. Like, Eric Barkley and Ron and all these dudes who, Felipe Lopez and all these dudes. Like Felipe Lopez was the deal in New York City, bro, in 94, 95 for sure. Like, so, fucking Kentucky, fucking Duke. Now we're gonna stay here. But then what happens is, once New York City basketball fell off, St. John's fell off pretty much right behind it, because it's like now you important people. And why would I come all the way to Queens to come live where I could just be the man, like you said, over here and, whatever. So, it is what it is, man. But
that's one dynamic I never really understood from the coaching side, being at AAU for so long. Like New Jersey took over as the predominant high school basketball area, but they took over because most of the players are New York players that are just going to school in Jersey. Like they waking up, literally, them kids waking up 4:30 in the morning, catching 2 trains to go to school in Jersey. You know what I mean? Like, and I never really understood that dynamic. How somebody that's born and raised in New York City, but when it comes time to put on, they want to go play for St. Anthony.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's 15 years from now, if you told me that Connecticut was where the money resides, then that's where everybody gonna ship their kids off to. Wherever it is. Like I was just watching, like I said, the high school dudes on ESPN. Their school was in Utah. The hell, like, how did you know about that? Because some way, somehow, there's money involved. We know how it goes, man. Like talent will always be a widespread thing, but the pool of players and you being an AAU coach, I remember when AAU was up and coming. I remember, like I said, you had the in New York City it was Gauchos, and you wanted to make a name, you had to go to IS8 and all those kind of things where you would see NBA dudes before there was NBA dudes. Now none of that stuff, all that stuff is extinct. Like there's not I'm sure Gauchos are still there. IS8 is still standing. I drive past it daily, but the actual this is where you go to make your name. Ruck ain't even shit no more for what it's worth. Like nobody even go to West Fourth like that no more. Like, what I'm saying? That was the Jew League. So, that's kind of the way it goes, bro. Like, it's like times change.
Right. But New York City is still the mecca of, I think, the mecca of culture, and definitely in the Northeast. But like, so even on the hip hop stages, I think like now the best rappers are probably considered from other cities, but like to me, even though the best always is going to drift in and out, but New York is always consistent. To me, it's always, you know what I
New
mean?
York is the only place I can consistently say that if somebody decides they actually want to be on some shit like lyrical, I'm guaranteed to get what I'm looking for. Like all this other, bro, I'm older now, bro. Like, so half this shit, like I can't do it, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can't, like I can't do it. And that's my sons love that shit. Like they love Lil Uzi Vert, they love all that. And I just can't do it because everybody sound the same, bro. Like, so for me, I don't know who's who. I don't know who's rapping. I don't know who's singing. Is it SZA? Is it her?
Right.
Who are, like, yo, it's so confusing for me because I remember a time when being distinctive and unique was what you needed. Now it's kind of like, do you fit that mold? Like, how can we make the most money the quickest? And what image do you have to portray in order to make that happen? That shit is whack. But I also recognize that when things become a business rather than a love, that's kind of what ends up happening. Because, like, you can't tell me none of these people who, like, shit. Like, I heard Young Jock driving a Uber. How's that? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, that was what was that, like 10, 15 years ago? But I'm saying that song was a hit now, But if I told you Young Jock was like, Young Spock or some shit like that, you'd be like, oh, really? Okay. Like nobody's distinctive. And the people who are distinctive, get popping too quick and then they don't have to work hard, bro. Like we grew up with Clue tapes where you wasn't gonna get on wax until people was talking about you off a Clue,
right?
Or some type of blend or some type of shit like that. Like now it's just like, oh yeah, you got one single, dudes is buying multi-million-dollar mansions and you never hear from these dudes again. Please,
so along what you just said, how do you feel about Griselda?
Yo, I like Griselda, but more specifically, I really, 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 really fuck with Conway, bro. Like Conway shit to me, like that album that he just dropped earlier last year, in the middle of last year, was the one album other than the new Nas album that I was actually able to continually spin, like, and not have to like force it. Like, when the Busta Rhymes shit came out, I forced myself on it. I was like, I'm gonna listen to it, and it was all right. It wasn't whack, but it was also like I could not hear this again and be cool. Like, Griselda's cool. A lot of people favor Benny the Butcher, which is cool. He's all right. Like, but if you give me my pick of the litter with that particular crew, definitely rolling with Conway. It's specifically his last album, and I've adopted as my official slogan. I'm outside, over the last calendar year. I get that straight from straight from that. Like, I'm outside, bro. Like, you looking for me, you know where to find me.
Yo, what do you feel about the people that say West Side is the new Ghostface, but they say he's more lyrical than Ghostface?
Nah, I'm good.
Yo.
You gotta remember. Now, mind you, this is where the old man gonna start coming out of us in a couple minutes. You can see it coming, right? But like the shit about Ghostface is he was the king of like, what the fuck does that mean rap? But the shit was still dope. And again, a true original, bro. Like there was nobody before him like that, and it won't be nobody after him like that. That's the one thing that these dudes is missing. There's very few people who are original, bro. Like when you would hear Jay on a verse, you knew it was Jay. You hear Big, you knew it was Big. You hear, Nas, you knew it was Nas. You hear, Snoop, you know it's Snoop. There's a reason why all these dudes are still popular, because people haven't filled that void yet, because people get on too quick, pop one song, two songs, and then they out. Or they get their money and then people can move on to the next, but they can only move on to the next because you sound just like the person coming after you or next to you or the side of you. Like the days of like hardcore, like originality, I don't know if they ever come back, unfortunately.
And so good. I try to tell all the young boys that I deal with, rap is no longer a young man's sport. Like the best people doing it are 35 and older. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it used to be rap was a young man's competition. Now, think about, I think I was reading the other day, Future like 36. Like, you know what I mean? Like these dudes is not young. You're 50 and them is about to be 50.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yo, it used to be like rap was a teenage or just turned 21. Yeah, I can't really think of I mean, I'm sure like the young boys probably listen to a bunch of NBA young boy and all of that. That
Bro,
brings
I don't know who these dudes are, bro. Like
yo.
I'm telling you,
So
I don't know who these dudes are, Reg.
how much do you know about the Chicago drill situation?
None.
Wow. So these dudes are like living a movie, bro. I mean, like literally, like they put out a diss song, and literally 3 weeks later they're dead. You know what I mean? Like and it's not just for TV like a story. It's like no, this dude really died. Like what I mean? And I feel like some of the rich white execs are like living off of murder.
They always have though, bro. That's not nothing new because that drives record sales. So they'll get you on wax as soon as possible for you to sell more records.
But Ron, we knew Nas wasn't gonna kill Hove. Like like you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it might have been a couple people in the crew, threw a rock or brick or something, but nobody was gonna die.
Nobody was gonna die. The expectation was we're gonna talk a little shit. People
gonna
choose their sides.
Yeah, you hear Cuban Link did this at the club or Fat Joe slapped this, but ain't nobody dying. Like, yo, these dudes really be like, yo, when I see Ron, I'm killing him.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean? Like,
but you know what's crazy though? I fear, right? In the spirit of people thinking they're gonna become immortal. Right, like how Big and Pac was immortal, but people forgot Big and Pac had a tremendous amount of work,
right?
And so when they passed away, there was a legacy of songs for you to continue to listen to. These dudes now, like I say, like a Pop Smoke, like I like dude. His whole album sounded exactly the same. So like I in 5 years from now, unfortunately, I don't think nobody's gonna be talking about him, and that's sad. Like what I'm saying, he might have had something going, but he was unique. But that was also that New York shit. He sounded different than anybody else for sure.
This is what I've been thinking about, and like I think we both are in an industry with you with school and me with coaching, where we're lucky enough to deal with young people and we get to see them develop. And when you think about who you was at Dell State in 2000, right, compared to who you are right now, you probably thought you knew everything in 01, but in 2021, you realize like, yo, I was just at the tip of the iceberg. And I think, like you said, the old man in us feels like that's the beautiful part of life is living long enough to understand I didn't know what I was talking about. You know what I'm saying? Or like, it took these experiences for me to really understand what true emotion is or what happiness is or whatever. When you see these dudes, these Chicago drill dudes, yo, they dying at 15, 17. Like they don't have any idea who they are yet. You know what I'm saying? Or like, what I'm saying? Some of these dudes, like they so young, and I'm not even being funny, they so young, they haven't even started dealing with girls yet. Like, what I mean? They like they still running around like hanging with their dudes heavy, like we all did at that age. And that brings up another deep topic I wanted to touch your brain and intellect on. I wrote a paper a long time ago and I still feel it's true. I feel like hip hop is homoerotic. Let me explain. Hip hop is really about your undying love for your boys and your block. And you have to dispel that you're soft if people accuse you of even liking a woman. It's like, nah, I gotta make sure, like, yo, I love my dudes over a chick any day. Like, nah, I ain't no sucker for love. Like, it's almost like, yo, we profess, well, hip hop people that are doing hip hop are professing their undying love for their boys more so than like showing genuine love and respect for females. Like, so in a way, even though it's not necessarily promoting homosexuality. Like if you listen to if you was just to like go back and just listen to early Jadakiss or early Nori or just CNN album or whatever. Like hip hop is really about how much you profess your love for your dudes on your block and how much you dispel the rumor or like the misinformation that you might be loving a female. Like what do you think about that assessment?
That's an interesting take. Let me sidestep a little bit. Let me tell you something that I recognize working where I work and also studying what I study, as I continue to, try to further my education and so on and so forth. Right.
Uh-huh.
There's a thing, and I'm not gonna get too deep in it because I like to do my research, and if I don't have direct numbers and direct things, I won't sign my name on it. But let me give you an inclination that I have. There's a direct thing that the system has done to us and will always do to us, has always done to us as far as like redlining is concerned, right? You know what redlining is. So I don't have to go into it, right? And not only did the system, perpetuate that part and make it undesirable for anybody else to want to be there, and this is where they would put the people who they didn't desire to have in their neighborhoods. But there's another sick, twisted part to that in which they also make it seem like pride in shit being fucked up is a thing, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up in Rochdale, bro. We had, staircases. People would piss on the staircases all the time. We would piss on the staircases all the time. We would piss in the elevators. There was no real reason. We all got working bathrooms, we're working plumbing. Why are we pissing on elevators? We doing that shit because we wanted to be like the dudes on the projects down the block. Why? Mm-hmm. Because the dudes in the projects down the block, kind of struck fear in dudes. And why? Because nobody wanted to go through the projects because you never know what's going to happen to you. It's bad over there. It's fucked up. It's you know what I'm saying? Shit real. These niggas is crazy over there, yada, yada. So everybody emulates this thing where everybody in this small circle that's been carved out for you, right, has to act like the best part of them is the worst part of them. So this is why you get dudes who get on the microphone and they start talking crazy. That's because that's what they've been sold, man. Like I can't tell you, the pride that you hear come out of people's mouths when they tell you where they're from, and it's a neighborhood that other people don't seem to think is desirable. Like, yo, what? I'm from the projects, bro. I'm from. And truth be told,
that shit spilled over to college. Like niggas was like, yo, I'm from Conwell.
Exactly. It's like I'm in the worst dorm on the shit. I got the dorm that's the hottest at night. What's really good? Like, yo, so like what's really good about it?
Yeah, you up in Evans with air conditioning. Like,
yeah, right. Oh, yo, you bougie because you living up in new dorms and yada yada. So what it becomes, unfortunately, is this fake idea where in order for people to feel self-worth, they need to feel like their surroundings in their neighborhood or their treatment of the women in that neighborhood has to be as trash as possible in order to justify their standing in this fucked up situation that they got put in. So when you tell me that people get on a microphone and start disrespecting women and only talking about their homies, unfortunately, it's one of those hidden curriculum items that nobody ever mentions. Nobody ever talks about it, but please believe that it's been engineered. That experience has been engineered just for that. Just for that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? They make it as such, right? They make sure that, the shit in the projects is fucked up as possible. They make sure you see cops every 17 seconds, doing patrols and all that good shit. It gives you this sense that you don't want to fuck with me. But the thing is about you don't want to fuck with me is what's the ending point to that shit? So my school is doubled in by projects, right? Like in other words, like on bookends. So for me, I deal with that shit all day. I can't tell you how many funerals I've been to for some of my, I'm in elementary school, but how many of my, how many of my families have like, kids in middle school who got shot or stabbed, or, high school who got shot or stabbed, just all trying to perpetuate this whole shit, the gangs, the violence, the nonsense. And it's so ill because you try to tell these little niggas like, listen, bro, I'm telling you, it's not the way this is supposed to go, and there's life after this nonsense, but it's hard to see that when out your window all you see is what you see every day. So this is why experiential things like putting kids on college tours and getting kids out the hood. And mind you, let me be clear. When I say get the kids out the hood and let them experience stuff, I don't mean they need to run away from where they come from. I mean they need to come back and then just help improve the experience. Maybe they're gonna have school skills and tools they folks didn't have. But some of these teachers who are dirty with it, like, oh, you need to do everything you can so you don't have to come back here, like almost like a shame tactic, and that's not what you want, man. You know, listen, until you can upend the system, you are where you are. But nobody says you got to piss on the elevator. Nobody says you got to throw. So I go hard when I see a kid throw some shit on the staircase in my building. What you doing, man?
Right.
There is literally 3 garbage cans in every single classroom, bro.
Right. So I don't know. I'm just asking. Like, do you have issues with African American males? Like, do you have enough African American males as staff, or is that an ongoing?
I have one African American male teacher who is not necessarily interested in the I'm the black, savior of the world experience. You know what I mean? So black isn't monolithic. I'm black. You know that about me. I've been black. So for me, that's how I move. But there's other people who aren't like that. And there's other people who feel like, man, if these parents were helping us more, these kids would be better off. We wouldn't be having to deal with this nonsense, yada, yada, yada. And I always surface this is like, have you really dug into the folks' experience that you speak of, or are you just making an assumption, right? So the black male teacher that I have, he's one of those people who feels like, well, if the parents were helping, then we wouldn't be dealing with these issues. Maybe the parents can help you. Right. Maybe they're the same kid who you dealing with now, just 30 years from now.
Right.
Who's been hardened by their experience. So maybe you should go as hard as you can to make sure that the kid doesn't have to revisit the sins of the father or the mother.
You know what? That brings up another dynamic. What you're just saying there is because what you're describing is somebody who has a genuine love for the people, right? And even at HBCUs, because we can't just say, oh, you went to an HBCU, you got to be cool.
No.
Like, we know, I tell people all the time, I feel like the majority of the kids or the majority of the enrollees at an HBCU are from the suburbs, and they're going there to try and prove how black they are. You know what I mean? Like, so you find yourself surrounding yourself with subsets. Like, when I met you and Tone and Rob, oh, this feels like home. They from where I'm from. You know what I mean? So you surround yourself with that energy because the majority of the student body is, I don't know, like the equivalent from your area, but like I would say like a West Hartford, Simsbury type of, you know what I mean? It's those kinds of students that fill up most HBCU campuses. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. Again, like exercising the privilege and, and living off the name, right? So look, I can't tell you how many people when I first got up to school would be like, yeah, I'm from the Bronx, or I'm from Queens, I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from here, I'm from there. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're black. Because remember, when you're from the city, you know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know somebody. So where you from? Oh, we're part of the Bronx. Oh, like over there by Yankee Stadium. Yeah. Nah, like up, like a little further up. Oh, like in the 260s. Oh, you mean from Rochester? So just say that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or from Queens. Oh, what part? I mean, I was born in Queens, but then I moved when I was 5. Now I live in Elmont Valley Stream. So just say you the son. So it's this whole idea where people felt like, if I come to the HBCU, I want you to identify back to what I said about the system. I want you to identify me with the most notorious part of where I'm from, not necessarily, whether or not I lived there, if I even been there, it's not even an issue. So when I used to take people home, or when people used to come, to my crib, on the weekends and shit like that, and I told them I was from Queens and from Jamaica, Queens, like when we get there, I ain't lying, bro. Like, what I'm saying? Like but again, strangely enough, I took a pride in that. But I don't know if I should have. Like, what I'm saying? I don't know if I should have. I mean, like, but that's just the way this goes, man. So but yeah, a lot of people, again, people don't be recognizing their privilege, and they want to act like kids who don't got it. And if you around people who don't got it for real, the difference, and you would be a little bit more appreciative for real. Because you stick out like a sore thumb, bro. You ain't fooling nobody.
All facts, man. So before we run out of time, I wanted to move into I know that you said you recently saw One Night in Miami, and I had a real interesting group discussion about this on one of my Facebook pages. But the movie, in my opinion, showed Malcolm as an extremely vulnerable and emotional guy. Would you agree with that?
Well, let me take a step backwards. I want to let's can we get a ranking as to where this dude's Malcolm X performance will land? Like, cause like in my head, I'm thinking, no, okay, obviously Denzel. I'm thinking the dude from Godfather of Harlem who just played that a year ago. I'm thinking about Mario Van Peebles in the Ali movie. I'm thinking about I'm trying to think of all the people who I seen play Malcolm.
You mentioned the Godfather of Harlem already.
Oh yeah. Oh no, did the new season start yet?
No, I'm saying, but the dude who played him in Godfather of Harlem,
he did an amazing job.
Yeah,
this dude was thoroughly unconvincing for me. And to be completely transparent with you, it took away part of my enjoyment because I didn't get from him what I know people got from being around Malcolm.
Right.
Like, dude's personality didn't seem like anything magnetic you would want to be around.
Right.
So that kind of affected, how I was able to take in. Because think about it. 3 major dudes, Muhammad Ali, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown, were all coaxed together allegedly by Malcolm X on this weekend.
Right.
Did that dude seem like people who could get 3 dudes like that in the room?
Right. And the fact that, okay, so a lot of times we want to believe stuff about people. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to believe that, Beanie Siegel was really tough. I want to believe that. You know what I mean? I've never chill with him, but I'm convinced that he's real. You know what I mean? Like, so you want to disbelieve that Malcolm just wasn't the type to be cowering or begging for people to accept him. Like, it just goes against, what we've been taught about Malcolm. However, I will say that there was a brother in the group discussion I was doing the other day. He brought up a book. There was a book, and I know you're a book guy. One of you put me on to Cass book. That was one of the most amazing books I've ever read.
I told you, man. I told you.
Yeah, so this brother put me on a book by Manning Marable, and this brother Manning Marable was one of Malcolm's closest friends.
Okay.
And he wrote a book, and he said some very, disparaging things about Malcolm that he seemed to have receipts for, if you will.
Okay.
So he basically talked about how much of a person, how the type of personality Malcolm was before he became Malcolm, and some of those demons still chased him until he. So, and then when you think about the fact that he saw his father basically killed, and they framed it as a suicide. He was taken away by the system from his mom, who ended up being in a like a facility for people with mental health issues. Some of the things that he endured, he had to have some residual issues. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that you could see those kind of things and be present for those kind of things and be the type of thinker that he was and not be affected by some of those things. So, I do believe that Malcolm was probably a little bit more vulnerable than I would like to believe that he was. However, I don't got Sam Cooke chumping them though. You know what I mean? Like, just like, not an R&B singer, man. Maybe a rapper, but not an R&B.
Well, think about it though. There was no rappers. So
I'm joking. I'm just being silly. But
look, believe it or not, I actually had beef with the Sam Cooke character as well because he was made out to be in that movie pretty much like an Uncle Tom. That's what I gathered. But from my understanding, and again, and this is where history gets funny because none of these people are here to tell their story, or there's not enough people alive living to really confirm or deny anything that anybody says. Right. So 90 years from now, people talking about Reg at Dub State. If I ain't like Reg from any moment ever, and you ask me about him, I'm like, yeah, man, fuck that. Right. And look, ain't nobody here to confirm nor deny. Not even your kinfolk, because they don't know they wasn't there.
Right.
So at some point in time, it's like the Temptations movie for me, right? The Temptations movie was told through Otis. Now, we already know, just by the famous line, ain't nobody covered to see you, Otis, that shit hurt him bad to the point when he put it in the movie. So
Right.
Did that really happen? And then also, are you overplaying your hand in, you know, in what went down, because all the original members are all dead and gone. So and the people who gonna confirm it ain't gonna have as much clout as you, because you're the last living remaining member. So you get a chance to make it seem like Paul was completely out of control, and you make it get a chance to seem like David was a complete asshole, and you make it seem like Eddie was kind of like, you know, manipulative. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like people tell the story they want to tell, and really there's not a lot of people who can back you up. So towards the dude who had receipts per se, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Listen, the other thing is about being a magnanimous personality is this: you were led into an organization, you know, by somebody. So, you know, one thing about me, and I don't know if this is something to brag on or just something to acknowledge about myself, I've always had a really hard time following the crowd. That's just me.
Facts.
Never wanted to be in a fraternity. Never wanted to join nobody's Masons. Never wanted to. I never wanted to be where people only knew me through an organization. That's just my personality type. Like, if you know me, you know
although I will say, the staff at the Hornet was like a gang, though. You know what I mean?
But we made it like that, though. So we and it's funny you should say that, because we made it to the point where people actually wanted to come into that office.
Right? Oh no, it was the place to be.
Nobody gave a shit about that office. Like, it was there the whole time.
It was the place to be while we were. Just for the listeners, Ron and I both were staff members at the Delaware State newspaper called The Hornet. For like 2 years while we were there together, and it was really, our office was like the most popular place on the whole campus. So
it was lit. You would stop in the student center, and I'm talking about everybody was stopping there.
We would be in there 1, 2 o'clock. We would leave parties and go to the office. Like, you know, we had the keys. Like,
this is facts. This is facts.
Yeah.
So a lot of that becomes, you know, whatever. But anyway, to your point about the movie, listen, I like the idea of the movie, right? It was, you know, it was good. The dude who played Ali did a wonderful job. He did a wonderful job with that, and I think the dude who did Jim Brown, I've seen him before. He was all right.
They're talking about Oscar nod for him. I was like, "Wait, why?"
For Jim Brown? Yeah, maybe I gotta watch it again. I didn't get Oscar. If I got Oscar from anybody, it would have been Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, well, they talking about the dude that played Jim Brown is getting Oscar consideration, but whatever.
Let's hold off on that.
And Regina King is getting Oscar.
Listen. I mean, it was a good cable Saturday movie. And I haven't seen a good ass movie. The last good ass movie I've seen, to me, was Queen and Slim. That was my shit. I saw that shit like
5 minutes. I want to get your take on Queen and Slim. Let me tell you mine first, and then you can rebuttal. Yo, a lot of people feel like, you know, I'm not even gonna start with that. Yo, the majority of their problems stem from her.
Yeah, it's all true. It's all true.
Yo, she was an issue the whole movie. Like, she was the bane of home existence. Like, yeah, man. Like, yo, Queen was really, she was a problem. Like, even from the first scene in the restaurant, like, yo, you dragging the restaurant. He like, yo, I like this place. It's black owned. You know what I mean? Like, she had an issue with the way he was chewing, with the selection of music. You know what I mean? Like,
the whole shit.
She was the reason why he was swerving. He was like, yo, give me my phone back.
Like, the whole shit. And I keep it brief. I know we're running short on time. So the whole shit was her issue. But let me go a step further. It was going to continue to be her issue until he started showing, like, yo, like, for lack of a better term, yo, I'm fucking this duck. You need to start listening a little bit more. Like, let me quarterback this. Because what she was looking for the whole time was for him to make a decision. And to stick by it. So we live in a society now, Reg, where we got to be careful about how much masculinity you want to pour into interactions with people, because it can be perceived as narcissistic. It could be perceived as chauvinistic. It could be perceived as just being downright rude. But I'm a firm believer in the whole thing is, I promise you, if you give me the space to lead, I will do so, right? Like, I'm not gonna ever leave you on, well, what we gonna do, and then you're like, I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? Because if I don't know, that means I don't care. But if I do know, that means I give a fuck about it, and I think that's okay. When he started saying, "I got this," she fell back, and that's when the fun started.
Somebody dropped a bomb. And when I was doing a group discussion on this, they said that's the reason why his name wasn't King. That's why it was Clean and Slim, because like, he was cowering to her the whole movie until he finally got fed up. Like, all right, it's enough of this. And that's when, Yeah. So brother, listen, man, like, I definitely want to come on your show. I've listened to a lot of your podcast. You're doing a great job. Like I said, I'm not surprised at all by any of the powerful moves that you're making. You was always a powerful dude while we were in school. I see that the homecoming, because of COVID, has been moved to April.
Sir.
That makes it a little bit more conducive for me, because before, like, homecoming would always come during basketball, so it's like I couldn't make it, but I might be able to do this one. But this is my issue, man. I didn't realize, like, the old folks always used to tell us this, but like, after a certain age, like, life just flies by. I didn't realize, we 20 years out now, man. Like,
I graduated in 01, bro. This is year number 20. And to put it more specifically, the people who I'm still cool with to this day, bro, I'm still cool. Let me tell you, man, between me and Rob, I spoke to Rob yesterday. I was with Tone yesterday. Me and Reem from Philly, I was talking to him on Friday. I talked to Ty. I talked to Kia. Bro, like, these are people who I've been cool with for upwards of 23, 24 years, bro. And like you said, like in the onset of your episode, it's nothing surprising about any of these people, because we all been solid the whole time.
Right.
So I appreciate them. I appreciate you, man, for having me, man. And I wish you luck on your podcast too, brother. Listen, man, if I give you a word of advice, listen, always lead with your heart on this shit, man. It's not about who's listening. It's not about the likes. It ain't about the downloads. It's very simply about your message, how you want your message to be put out there, and trust your vibe, bro. Like, I'm a big believer in that shit. I see so many people trying to chase after the likes and chase after everybody trying to be Joe Buttons in 6 months. Hey, just get on the microphone, plug your shit up, and have fun. And people listen, they listen. If they don't, they don't. And if one person listen, that's one more person that you had who didn't, and that's it.
No doubt. That's solid advice, brother. I appreciate you coming on with me.
Of course, man.
We'll be in contact with each other. Thank you for your perspectives.
Of course, man. Hold on. Let me tell the people where they can find me, just in case.
No doubt, King. And I'll add it.
Yeah, one take no chaser. So that's the number one take no chaser on Instagram. And if you're looking for the show, spell out the word one take no chaser. Man, we just talk our shit, man. I try to be genuine, man. Y'all, you can hear it, man. I don't do nothing else but just be me. I ain't trying to be nobody else. So it's too late for that shit.
No doubt. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Always, brother. Be good, man.
All right, now. I want to thank my guy, man, for showing up today. That was my man, Ron Lover, a.k.a. One Take No Chaser. That's the name of his podcast, One Take No Chaser. Powerful dude in education. Black man, went to HBCU with me, went to Dell State with me. Principal in Brooklyn, originally from Queens, New York. Real brother, real dude. Glad to have his perspective on. These are the type of shows that you can expect from the Blackprint podcast. I will have a lot of powerful people that I've met throughout my travels come on here and give their perspectives on things that have happened. As you see, once you get good people in the room and you get to talking, man, the time flies. So this episode is coming to an end. I want to thank all of my new listeners. I want to thank everyone who downloaded or clicked the play button on the first episode. Continue to share. We are a growing podcast. As I continue to learn the best ways to present the content to you, the quality of the content will improve. You have my word on that. I don't fail. I do my thing on everything that I put my mind to. And right now, my mind is being put to this. So again, thank you for tuning in to Season 1, Episode 2 of the Blackprint. Check you all next Monday for Episode 3. Peace.